Welcome to The Story Tinker, a Webtoons and Witcher podcast for superfans with scene-by-scene analysis. Featuring sharp co-hosts for a fuller picture, we dive deep into character psychology, relationships, and theories. We'd love it if you could like, subscribe, comment, and rate us on all podcast platforms and social media. For bonus content, you can support The Story Tinker on Patreon. Let's begin. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 133 of Purple Hyacinth. We have Weeping Willow, and today we have Bundin and Joy on the podcast.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, so this episode starts out, most of the episode, it's just like, oh, so nice, so like emotional, very just like low-key, and then.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, when I'm like halfway through the episode, I think, when I was reading it last night, I was like, wow, we've actually like learned so much. This is such like a nice, like, it's chill, but it's introducing things. It doesn't feel like wasted time. It's like great. We're gonna have so much to talk about and everything. And then like the last like 3-5 panels happen, and I'm just like, and yeah, I was basically stuck processing that through screaming and memes for several hours before I began to think about the other stuff again. So
Yeah,
I gotta say, I'm still not over the ending myself. Like, and I've read it a few times, but it's a shocker. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yep. All right, well, let's start with the normal stuff. We have it's this, I guess, the train station. It's been rebuilt, I guess.
Looks so.
Looks really nice. It's really nicely designed. We have train tickets. We have this little girl running to the train station. Just really nice. And then Lauren and Kym are sitting on a bench right by the train station in front of a willow tree, and it's just really pretty. Looks like it's covered with snow, and the sky is blue with a bit of pink dot like sunlight in the clouds, and there's like icicles on the tree. It's a whole very nice setting.
Good vibes.
And Lauren has obviously been telling her some stories, and Kym in response, so you're telling me that the council voted and collectively agreed to slaughter the Snapdragon? So right away I was like, oh good, Lauren's being open with her, Lauren's talking to her. Finally, they're actually having a DMC. They're actually, instead of just joking and bantering and hiding stuff from each other, Lauren's telling her substance.
Yeah, it's like I remember you last week when you were just screaming at Lawrence, like, tell him everything. And I was just like, she's not going to, because plot, but also like kind of see why. But like for this, I'm glad that she's being open with Kym, because she and Kym have not really had that like deep conversation yet, like really facing everything that happened in the factory and after. So I was really happy to see this.
Yep. And she tells her, yes, that's what, my music is on. That's what Dakan told me. And then we have like the flashback of when the part of the conversation that we did not get to see when Dakan and Tristan were just saw Lauren right after her the explosion. Apparently they had more conversation that we did not get to see, which, remember, we talked about that, I think, during that episode. We're like, wow, that was short or something like that.
Yeah, and even after finishing this one, like when we got to this, in my mind as I was scrolling, I was like, why are we getting this now? Why couldn't we get this earlier? And I get it's more like for the sake of like in the Discord when I was trying to like figure it out, I was like, it's like withholding information. And now like thinking about it, it's not necessarily withholding information. It's more like it's basically kind of like unreliable narrator, but not really. It's more like you only get certain information when like is best to have it, right? Because we could have like had this for the whole time. It might have just felt really weird to just stick this whole long bit into that episode, because if I remember correctly, that episode ends with like, was it Kieran going? No, that was a different episode, I think. Was the whole episode just them talking? Oh no, it flashes back to like Kieran and his little mini flashback at the end. So like maybe that would have made the episode feel a bit too dense with like just being mostly with like Lauren and her uncles and all that. So I don't know. But yeah, as I was reading, I was like, oh, kind of wish we got this sooner, but also having it now makes it more fresh in our brains. And I mean, it doesn't really tell us anything we didn't technically already like come up with. So it's not like the worst thing. And like thinking about it now, I don't mind that it was put in here, but like this episode took me a really long time to read. It was a lot of information. So I feel like it was just like a lot of information at once that I had to kind of just like read it a bit more slowly to process it. So it could be just a mixture of things, but I mean, and at the end of the day, I think it's all right to have it here.
What do you think, Joyce, about having this flashback here?
I actually kind of like having that here because I kind of feel like since it's got a lot of like information, and even though we as the reader are able to figure this stuff out, this is the first time these characters are hearing it. So, and a large part of mystery is finding certain clues and getting certain information at a certain time. And honestly, I think the episode you mentioned previously where it's like Lauren and Dakan and Tristan are all trying to get together, it's a lot of that episode is a very emotional one. And I think having to have a bunch of exposition, okay, here's what happened to the Snapdragon and all that kind of stuff would have really taken away a lot of the emotional impact of that episode.
Yeah, I agree. I think the purpose of their encounter there was to show us how connected they are and how they feel for her and how she regrets that she caused them pain. So I think that having this part would have taken away from that focus. So I really agree.
Yeah, I feel that too. Like just kind of because like, you know, things happened in this episode that kind of had like, you know, the processing of everything is kind of different. And then I'm thinking back to things and like remembering as I was reading them. So yeah, I think that it was probably best to put it here, but like I don't know, it still like feels a bit like, I don't know, not disjointed necessarily, but it did make the episode feel like, because even after this we get a lot of exposition again, so I kind of wish that we had a bit more room for things to breathe. But
I love exposition actually, because I'm like, Purple Hyacinth gets a lot of questions and I'm like, yes, finally we have some answers. So I'm happy when we have exposition. I don't know, maybe narratively I should be more like discerning, but I'm just plot wise, I just want to have it.
I mean, you know me, I'm also very like, oh, give me the thing. So I probably don't even have like a weight, like a justification really. It was just like, oh, that might have felt a little weird to me, but does it really matter? No. Like at the end of the day, I still just chill and enjoy it. That's like I could be like, oh, that felt a little weird, but am I gonna be like, oh, this sucks? I'm like, no, I like it personally. I always like it.
All right, so yeah, so this flashback, all right, wait a second. Actually just posting in the big winter thing in the background. I knew it would be taking a long time to this. All right, so we have Dakan in the background saying it was an XX16. A bounty had been placed on the Snapdragon, and each time they would issue a pamphlet, the court spared no measure to deny their allegedly defamatory revelations. And Tristan is holding Lauren while he's talking, and then he continues. Newspapers and radio stations were told what to say. They portrayed the Snapdragons as anarchists, liars, and troubleshooters. Anything to keep a negative public opinion. Like, well, that sounds fairly typical of like a lot of, you know, autocratic governments around the world would do this.
Yep.
And Dakan continues, then after the release of their last pamphlet, the bounty was increased significantly. An anonymous letter was slipped into a councilman's office written by a Snapdragon member. So this is the betrayal that the leader was talking about. I guess we'll finish it, but I want to speculate on this betrayal. It says it promised information in exchange for protection and money. And we see it looks like actually the council member. What's his name? I don't remember, but he looks familiar. It's the guy with the like mustache or whatever.
I only know the queen and Dakan in that room. Right. I'm not gonna lie. And the king.
Yeah. Well, there's more females in this one, so it's not exactly the same council, but whatever. That guy looks familiar. The council decided to trust their only lead, and arrangements were made. And we see the council, it's black and white, and then we see what looks like the king. Although the traitors never reveal themselves, and the king is holding the letter, everything's blurred out, except it says Orion's print shop, February 24th, XX16. Now, the second and last letter revealed the location and time of the Snapdragon's next meeting, and the king crumbles the letter. Obviously, it's a symbol of how he's going to crush the Snapdragon. Disappointed, the council tried reaching out for a list of names, but got nothing. The traitor had already disappeared with the money. And Tristan continues, everything was kept under secrecy. Even the APD didn't know anything of it. Dakan says, so much so that even I was kept in the dark. I knew I would oppose it with all my might. Okay, so that was a very significant line for me because it's not a lie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so confused now. So,
Okay.
who's the traitor? And we were all sus of Dakan, but this line very much unsussifies him. I don't know. We have to parse this out. Let's
Okay.
hear your thoughts.
In my mind, because I was reading this and like he said, I would have opposed it with all my might. That is an action that he would have done. It is not a feeling or like what he thinks. Like I could oppose something in person, but privately be okay with it, right? Like, so it could be like that. But like in, you know me, I'm like sus of Dakan, but it's like March is my number one sus, right? Dakan is like sus, but not like sus. So I find like either way, it could be like, you know, hiding a potential lie in that he said, I would have opposed it, but it's like, oh, but did you really not agree? Or did you do all these things? Other thing is the fact that this person, whoever they were, betrayed them, took a bunch of money and dipped. Who do we know became really rich before all the things take place and who was incredibly poor beforehand?
Apostle 7, Redcliffe.
Yeah, like that was my mind anyways, like Redcliffe.
So
was from 𝗪𝗏𝗄𝗃.
One second,
Wasn't he?
but wouldn't the leader know who betrayed him and like kill them?
I mean, that's what I wonder, right? Because then my mind went, oh,
yeah, everyone died but them, right? Like,
yeah, I think it was the leader, and was it another person's fight, or was it just the leader?
Who died? I mean, I think most of the Snapdragon died, right? And the survivors,
except for the Sinclairs and the leader. I don't think the Sinclairs were even there, from what I remember. Like, yeah, like Lauren's parents were in it, right? How did they survive? Because they probably weren't around, weren't they? I don't know.
Some
what if it
people
was her parents?
become...
No, but they already have money.
No, but that makes no sense. Why would they be if they had been the traitors? Then why would they be in the Phantom Scythe? The Phantom Scythe, I think, were the survivors that became radicalized because they, you know, the rest of them had been killed.
But they'd been offed as well, after Allendale as well. So ultimate revenge.
I wonder if the Sinclairs were part of the Snapdragon and like some of the stuff that went down with the Snapdragon and everything, like, and becoming the Phantom Scythe, they may not have been particularly aware that the Snapdragon was like no longer the Snapdragon. I think, I don't know, it kind of strikes me that the ATST took them by surprise as much as anyone else who wasn't involved. So like even though they were in and they were the apostles, like the first known, I think there was still a bit of hesitancy on part of the leader to let them in fully on all his plans, because he knew that they would never agree to killing a bunch of innocent people to get their message across.
And also they wouldn't send their daughter to the place that they knew would be blown up.
Unless they were in cahoots with possibly Dylan's dad, who sent them away.
Yeah, Dylan's dad. Everybody, like, I've been seeing people be like, something about Dylan's dad, something about Dylan's dad. And like, he's popped up again in a flashback in this episode later, right? Like, we never heard anything about his body. He and his son are gone. He was assumedly poor. Like, Will's dad would not let him play with Dylan when he was small because they were at a lower station. Who's to say that, you know, Mr. Rosenthal didn't just dip with his child? Wouldn't that be something crazy if, like, he betrayed the family, took his son and bolted, and that's just why Dylan is missing? It's because his dad was just like that. That would suck.
Wow, and very anticlimactic too.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the fact that, I mean, because now I want to speculate a little bit about Dakan, because he says he was kept in the dark and he didn't know that this was going to happen. I don't know. I'm so confused now. Like, what is he and who is he? Maybe he just is what he says he is. Maybe both Dakan and Tristan. No, that doesn't make sense. He said suspicious stuff before. Ugh. I don't know. I feel like we're being, what's the word? I don't know.
Misled,
We're
misdirected.
being messed with for sure in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still highly suspect that Dakan might have been like some form of Snapdragon. Like, I am not certain if he's still in Venom's sight or not, or if he is just because some of it's like I think this episode definitely causes him off the leader, like position as leader for me. But you know, there's still some room for him to still somehow be involved with like the scythe or the Snapdragon, or you know.
Yeah, the fans of Scythe, you have to keep being useful to them or else they'll hurt you, they'll hurt the people you love. So like, who knows if maybe he's just being blackmailed at this point, potentially. Like, you know, he'll kill Tristan and Lauren and he's just like, no, okay. But I don't know, him being Phantom Scythe, I feel would almost be too expected, right? Like March, I feel like if it's both of them, that would be crazy. If it's neither of them, that'd be even crazier. But
Well,
I don't know,
we need a few people to fill those apostle roles. Like, it's not going to be just one person.
oh no, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Dakan being fans of Scythe kind of feels like an inevitability based on like what the things we get in the plot. Like, you know, he's got that letter in his desk from them, and like he's that last language he used in like what 113 was when they talked about this stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel like with March, it's like everybody loves him. He's just a good guy that we like. He's like your cool uncle, and like, you know, he's always good with Lauren and everything. And if he turns bad, like I mean, I would have seen it coming. But
My son would like to say hi. There he is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I guess I want him to be. I think he is a good guy, but whatever. I'm curious if the resolution will be like, oh, like everything will fall into place, or if it'll just leave us more confused than we started. So yeah, one thing that also strikes me is that how ruthless the government, the monarchy, and the council are. I mean, they're just flat out brutes. I mean, this is like, I mean, whatever. There's countries around the world who behave like this, and it's horrible.
You know, the king, what was his name again? King Edward. He seems like a very, like, not tyrannical. I don't think I would go that far, but very much like anti-freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Definitely doesn't like when people talk badly about him or his like the establishment or the status quo. Anything that disrupts that is a direct threat to him. And he just gives very like paranoid world leader vibes.
Yep. And what Tristan says is also very important, that even the APD didn't know anything of it. And I think a lot of the reason is important is because we can't have the APD be like too bad, because a lot of our favorite characters are in the APD. We have like Lauren and you know, and Will and Kym and March and whatever. So I think that line was also there just to show like that also Tristan, right, wasn't involved.
Yeah, Tristan, he's beyond sus at this point. He's fine. Like if he's it, that'll be quite a shock to me.
Yeah, so they continue. King Edward and the council passed a secret vote to decide the fate of the Snapdragon. The overwhelming majority, which shows that some people voted against it, so that's good, favored their assassination. And so on the night of February 24th, the NSA, which we had just previously heard mentioned, made sure that any living soul present at Orion's print shop would not make it out. And it looks like kind of like a SWAT team, a lot of kicking down the door and shooting. And Lauren in the flashback says, "That's horrible. How could they have agreed to something so abject? I can't believe it." I'm like, yeah, sorry, Lauren. I can.
Imagine not being completely disillusioned with your government and their choices. Couldn't be me.
And she says, "But I don't understand why they didn't capture them and execute them instead. death penalty was still legal at the time, it would have been unusual for the court to stifle something that would set the example, which is a good question. You know, why not do it the legal way? I don't know how much better that is, but whatever.
Like, you know, you're following your own laws, so you're not like a hypocrite in a way.
Yeah, I guess, sure. And now Dakan continues. Well, since the insurrection, that's so funny, I didn't even notice that word before.
I noticed that as well. It was like another word to add to the words I don't know.
Yeah, and typically no stuff like that, but
Instauration.
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 Everything is so slow, I can't. Okay, I'm not looking it up now because
I can look it up. Hang on.
Instauration. Maybe insurrection? No, it doesn't even show up. Installation, maybe?
Instauration. Restoration after decay, lapse, or dilapidation. Oh, so they see it as like cleaning out the filth. Restoring the order, potentially.
Okay. Okay, so since the restoration, I guess, of the bounty, some tensions started rising within the populations. Some people still believe the Snapdragon, despite the court's repudiation. The middle class and the South Shore especially had no reason to object to their requests. And Tristan continues, the Snapdragon were citizens like any one of them who didn't commit any proper crimes besides their allegedly defamatory revelations. King Edward was scared of the reaction to an official execution. Instead, he chose to make them disappear silently, which, you know, it sounds like, hey, wait, if these people disappear, won't people be angrier at the government? But I guess if there's no press to spread the word, then not that many people will hear about it. Lauren didn't know about it.
Yeah, and also the fact that this happened in a shop in the South Shore, which is a lot of crime, a lot of just murders happening. So if a bunch of people just end up dead in a place, like, oh, it's just typical day here, according to the government. So I think they mentioned that later in this episode.
Right. And Lauren asked that they never investigated those people. How could they be sure they got everyone? Any survivor could expose them, which I think, by the way, is a crucial line. I think it's like a tip or to us, the audience, like that there's a survivor, right? We know that there were survivors, but I just think it's like something telling us to be on the lookout.
Yeah.
And he says, arrogance. The court was arrogant enough to believe that the slaughter would dissuade any survivor from speaking up. Besides, manipulating the truth and pinning the murder on any lowlife from 𝗲𝗄𝗃 would have been easy enough for them. And you see Dakan, young Dakan, receiving the letter from the Phantom side. And he says, I failed to realize any of this until I realized a warning letter from the leader sometime before the Allendale train station tragedy. And you see him yelling at the king, and Elizabeth is actually behind him.
I thought that was Philip.
Philip? Oh, nope, you're right. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense because he's looking like, and he's very concerned. Like he's like, oh my gosh, we have to do something. Like you can see that on his face. So you can see that he's very different than his father.
Yeah, and also you can see, unlike his dad, who's just actually cruel and like strict with these things, he is just kind of letting things happen before him and not being decisive. Like, you know, it was Dakan who received the letter, but he's not as enraged as Dakan. He probably even knew that it was going to go down. Like, you know, he's the heir. He might be sitting on these meetings at this point, you know, like, who's to say? But I don't know. I didn't even think of this before, but it's just like, yeah, wow, it just shows Dakan feels very passionately and was willing to go up and yell in the king's face while the prince was just kind of on the side watching in concern but not doing anything.
Yep. There, that's Prince Russ. And yeah, Dakan's just yelling. He doesn't have his famous mustache. And he says, that's when I understood what they've done and that all of our Hollis would have to suffer the consequences. And Lauren is just sitting in the chair looking horrified and disgusted, really. And the court failed to see how wrong they'd been until the tragedy was upon them and King Edward perished in the explosion. So that's the end of the flashback. I guess Joyce said, I'd like to hear your thoughts because it's even a bit quiet.
Hold on, I'm gathering my thoughts, actually.
Okay.
So yeah,
go
I
ahead.
will say, like, a lot of this is like, it doesn't really feel like new information, even though it's the first time we've heard it, because with the real world parallels, there's a lot of different governments who do this exact thing, where if someone dares to vocalize any sort of dissent for the government or how they're running it, they will shut them down through any and every means necessary. So yeah,
Yep.
it's kind of scary that all this is happening, but yeah, I think a lot of this this section really kind of shows you what the heart of this is, really what kickstarts this entire series, which it basically happened like more than 10 years before even at the start of what we see. And I think it's kind of interesting how actions do have consequences, and a lot of times they will have consequences that ripple through, through spans, and they'll span through generations. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry. We have grown up. Lauren was just a kid then, and a lot of it kind of helps you understand a little bit of where the site is coming from. Not that I think any of us would agree with how they're doing it, but
Yep.
but you do see the cause and effect very clearly with this section.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've definitely discussed that, like the the morality of phantom science a lot before. So now we go back to the present, where Lauren has finished this recap, and Kym is looking very contemplative, and she's looking down, sunlight behind her, and she said, "They literally brought it upon themselves. Damn, thank you for telling me. I didn't know. Just can't fathom how terrible they all were." Laura continues, and she says, "Yeah, and even knowing what they did, they still willingly ignored the leader's warning before the Allendale Train Station tragedy. It could have all been avoided, and yet," and we focus in on her, and she's looking at the willow tree, and obviously, we know Lauren's thinking about some emotional stuff, and it does come up. And she says, it's a really beautiful shot of her. She says, "I used to always come here with Dylan. We actually planted this willow with his dad." And we see a little memory of Mr. Rosenthal and Dylan and her, and there's a little baby willow tree. They're having fun. And she says, "You would expect it to have been reduced to ashes by the explosion, but this side of this train station was the least affected by the fire. The willow burned partially, but didn't die." Okay, do you think that was on purpose? If Mr.
Yes,
Rosenthal was
yes.
involved? Okay, go ahead, Joyce.
Okay, so this afternoon I did spend my work break looking up, because I thought it was very interesting that the authors decided to bring up this willow tree right here after we start talking about what led up to the ATST and how this tree survived. So hold on, let me pull this up. So I think this is from betterplaceforest.com. And so according to that site, the willow tree often symbolizes flexibility and adaptability. Lumber and supple nature of extremities means it bends to accommodate and withstand strong winds and adverse weather. Many therefore see it as inspiring and symbolic of humans' capability to withstand hardship, loss, and difficult emotions. Thanks to its long life and ease with new trees that can be rooted from cuttings, the willow tree is also seen as a survivor and a symbol of rebirth.
So the willow is Lauren.
Oh, that's nice.
I really like that a running theme from the beginning to now has been the meanings of plants and flowers has been sprinkled throughout. Obviously, the purple hyacinth, so the main one, but we got in the end of season 1, you had Dylan saying all the different meanings of these different flowers, and then the fact that Lauren's favorite flowers when she was young were daisies, and those represent innocence, and you see it. It's consistent throughout the narrative, so I kind of like integrating that into this little story. like it being a Willow is 100% intentional in my mind.
Yeah, that's pretty. But yeah, I love how you looked up, Joyce, what it means. So thank you for doing that. And I think it really does like represent Lauren, like you said. So I'm wondering if like the fact that she told us that the Willow was not affected, I wonder if that's supposed to tell us that Mr. Rosenthal was involved in planning the bomb, and he was like, well, I don't want to ruin my tree, so I'm gonna make it not affect that side so much.
You never know. I mean, if his like, in a way, it could also symbolize him. If he's in the Phantom Scythe, it could be like, yeah, this Willow is about to go through some terrible stuff, but it will survive and persevere, just like how we survived and persevered when the government tried to murder us in the print shop. Ha! But you know, I that would be really interesting. Like I've said before, like I'll be like, oh, that sounds a bit far-fetched, and then it happens in numerous like works of fiction that I've enjoyed over the years. So honestly, I'm down for anything. Like if that happens, sweet. If it doesn't, good try. You had the pieces.
I'm wondering how the fandom will react if like we get to the end and Mr. Rosenthal is literally just that's it. He's just Mr. Rosenthal and he's done nothing in the story. That would be a big fun thing.
I mean, that was me with Kieran's shoulder scar. Like
Yeah.
I remember talking about that big square chunk out of his shoulder, people being like, that's gonna mean something, and I was just like, it's just a scar, bro, like what? And then like the man is covered in them, that one just looks a little different, it's in a different spot, like whatever. And then it became a thing. It's like, oh my god, they were right. Like 2 years ago. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I have had to eat the humble pie before, so I'm like, you know what, sure. I'm open to anything.
Yeah, I think it is significant just because it takes up the whole line. And you know, in his stories as opposed to life, the person who's telling the story is putting every detail in, right? In life, you look around and there's like a billion stimuli at once. There's the setting, there's the sounds, there's the sights, there's the furniture, there's the food, there's the smell, there's the people, right? It's all these stimuli, and you have to take it and make like meaning out of it. But a storyteller, everything they put in is already meaningful. They're not putting it in for nothing. They're writing, they're drawing, they're putting in dialogue, and it's all intentional. So it's kind of easier to pick up on intended meaning, right? So if there's a line, you're like, why is that line there?
Yeah. I'm thinking of another fandom right now, but it is so random and so unrelated to anything we're doing. But I remember when the thing happened that people were theorizing, I just remember being like, y'all are stupid. That's not what's happening. And then it happened literally the next season. And I was just like, oh my god, they were right. Like, you know, that happens to me a lot, man. So I'm not knocking anything. The fact that like Lauren is kind of reflecting on this as like, you know, a symbol of her past and showing like it was like young like she was at the time, it was hurt like she was in the explosion, but it has survived and grown and thrived like she has now. Like that's one thing. But the fact that it was him and Dylan there as well, like multiple meanings, layers, the onion, Shrek, same thing. Like right. The story has layers, meanings upon meanings.
Now I just decided to look up how long it takes a willow tree to grow from that size to that size.
I think they grow pretty quickly. My aunt has a bunch of willow trees in her backyard, so
yeah, they add up to 10 feet per year when young. That's a lot. So yeah, I think that makes sense. That's fast. Yes, I started growing a willow tree and then my husband cut it with a lawnmower. So
oh no. Try again.
I don't think it's coming back.
It's a fast growing tree. It's good for carbon sequestration. Get help with climate change.
Yeah.
Do that. Fast growing trees.
We use willows for like Sukkot time and the Jewish holidays, so it's really easy to propagate it. You just put it in water and roots grow. So I'll do it again in a few months.
And take this as a sign. Purple Hyacinth's telling you, plant a willow.
Yeah. So she continues and she says, it seems stupid, but something about the fact that it survived helped me believe that. And then it's like, yeah, we know what's coming next. Kym knows too. And she's like, you're still searching for what happened after his abduction, aren't you? So you see, she calls it abduction. Okay, I'm thinking this is a slip on the part of Soph and F, because no one has in this story has ever said he's been abducted. Everyone assumes he's dead. So the fact that they say abducted I think it means he actually was abducted. I think it's a slip, like they wrote 𝗏𝗏𝗃 in the season 2 recap instead of Apostle 7.
Yeah, I could see that, like, because we don't like Lauren only like thinks of it as being a potential like kidnapping, like
It hasn't
Sake
told
says,
him.
yeah, like
never
we
told
haven't
him
seen her
that.
tell Kym about this. Then again,
I think-
we've had. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I think she actually did tell Kym, like, about, like, it was sometime early, maybe season 2. I'm not as good at keeping track of those numbers as you guys are, but there was one
Oh.
point where, like, Kym sneaks in the window and
Yes.
she's like,
Yes.
and at that point she's like, hey, I found out through Sake that there were some children that were
Yes.
kidnapped. So I think that's what Kym's referring to.
Shoot,
That is it.
Here I thought I discovered a plot hole. I mean, a plot like giveaway. Oh well.
No, I forgot about it too. But then, as you began talking about it, I remembered it. So probably show up on the video, just me being like. But yeah, I remember that. She was like, yeah, Sake said something about kids. So yeah, and Kym is intuitive. She could put 2 and 2 together.
Mhm.
Like, she's one of the most perceptive characters in the series, other than Lauren, like, in terms of certain things.
Deductive reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, yeah, and I'm glad they're talking about it because I think Lauren for a long time has just been not verbal about her search for Dylan. She kind of keeps it to herself, maybe because it's embarrassing, but it's good to be open about what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you're doing. And it kind of shares the burden and the relief, like it gives you relief.
And other people want to help and be involved, right? Like, who are you to like dissuade them? Like, you're in a way you're taking away their agency for the sake of your own peace of mind, in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
And she continues and she's like, yeah, I need to know. And Kym says, I wouldn't stop this far either if I were you. Sometimes I wonder if I moved on too quickly too with my sister. Oh, now so now we got a whole sister arc and it's really cool. And Lauren continues and she says, no one can blame you for it. Your parents tried.
No one can blame you.
Hold on one moment. So yeah, and she starts and then she's cut off. She's like, no one can blame you for it. Your parents tried. Like, what? Your parents tried what?
Give us what we want to know.
Tell me!
Honestly, Kym's sister is one of the things we know the least about in this entire series, right up there with like Kieran's backstory. We infer, we have nothing confirmed. We just know that her sister died. It was tragic. It was sad. And Kym had to had a lot of issues with that, went to therapy because of it. That's it. That's all we know about Daena and the lullaby. That's it.
Watch.
And the
So now
time she died.
We're gonna learn, quote unquote, a little bit more about her. And Kym says, yeah, it was an accident, quote unquote, one among so many others. And all right. So we now see a stone and it says November 13th, XX17, in memoriam of all who passed on that tragic day. And so I guess, can we infer from here that she died in the train station?
It was the 13th, wasn't it? Was it? I should know the date of this thing. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'm
Honestly.
gonna Google quickly and see if the Purple Hyacinth wiki has it.
I know. I was gonna actually do that also, but I didn't have time, and also my brain.
Well, you guys talk while I Google.
Yeah, I'm assuming it is. And then Kym grabs her hands, Lauren's hands, and she says, "Lauren, look." Which, by the way, the grabbing hands thing, but okay, I'm just gonna for later reference. I'm glad we can finally speak openly about all this, and it's a really nice shot of the two of them. To finally know the truth about you, the court, Phantom Scythe, but damn it, please, please don't ever do something like that to me ever again. I have never been this scared in my entire life, not since. And her hands are shaking, and she says, "Oh." So I'm so happy that she's finally opening up to her. Like, this is the conversation we've been wanting them to have for so long, where Kym was, not telling her how she felt after the explosion. I'm so happy they're finally talking.
Yeah, it's as I was reading out this, I was like, God, this is everything that we've just been needing to have in the narrative, because Kym's been having issues with this very much since basically the beginning of this season. We're like almost halfway through the season, over halfway, I think, if it's about 50 episodes per season, if I have that right. So yeah, it's been a really long time since they've been this like vulnerable and open with each other about their wants, their fears, like being real with it, not skirting around it for now. Yeah, it's just nice to see. Also, yes, it was on the 13th, so her sister did die in the explosion.
I wonder, why is she calling it an accident, though? Everyone knows it was a terror attack.
An accident like so many others. That makes me wonder, though, like, was it like a different thing that just happened to happen on the same day? But also, why would her tombstone say, what is it? In memorial of all.
Oh, I think that's actually not her tombstone. I think that's just a memorial to.
Oh, at the thing. Oh, yeah.
Train station.
I was distracted by looking it up, so I didn't really pay attention to that panel very closely. But like, you know, she's talking about like the accident, and then it cuts to that, so that like narratively tells you without saying that it's alluding to that.
Right. That's what I think. Unless they're red herring us again. I don't know.
What if she got hit by the car that had all the kids, and that's how she died?
Oh no, that would be terrible. That's too much coincidence.
Because Lauren almost got hit by it. They don't care about the people that they're gonna hit with that car, man. Just saying.
Yeah. It could be she was like a responder, right? And she got hit with like falling debris or something.
Or she saw something she wasn't supposed to see.
Maybe.
Saw the kids being kidnapped, tried to act.
Ooh, that would be poetic justice.
What if she tried to escape like baby Dylan and Kieran if they were getting kidnapped? Like,
and Kieran remembered her last scene, and he tells Lauren, he's like, tells her how she dies.
Because she would not be this elusive of a character if she didn't come up again at some point. Chekhov's dead sister. She's gonna come up again at some point. They've put her on the wall. By the end of it, she's going to be involved.
Yeah. Right. I agree. I think that there will be some plot thing with her. And Kym continues. Well, actually, it's like Lauren says, I know. She covers Kym's hands with her own. She says, I am sorry, Kym. I truly am. Well, art is beautiful, by the way. She looks gorgeous. And she says, it was like, Kym says now, she's looking away. There's so many beautiful panels. It's just like, it's stunning. And she says, it was like reliving that night all over again, feeling lost and powerless, not understanding what's going on or how we've come to that. A part of me precisely understood one thing. She reaches into her pocket and takes out her pocket watch. And it was that someone I love was going to die. So interesting, going to die rather than died. Did she take a while to die? Did she start to die there? And then maybe did she get injured and then die a few days later? Like, what happened? I don't know if it's just like the awkward road sentence, like, and it was not important, or if it's actually like that she didn't die right away.
Could be that she didn't die. Or sorry, you go.
Sorry. I was thinking that maybe Daena knew something, or whatever, and like she would have been up at the station when initial there before hearing her official death was that she was killed shortly afterwards, like Lauren's parents were, because of like something she knew or was involved in or something. But yeah, like if Kym has always been as intuitive as she is now, she would probably catch on that there's something going on. It's not on you, like something beyond it's the usual. The cop in the family usually doesn't tell you everything that goes on at work because they want to keep their family safe and somewhat innocent as much as possible. But
right, and that's maybe that's the next panels, which I didn't connect even the two. Like it shows what you're talking about. Like, sorry to interrupt, but I'll just want to do the panel. It shows Daena holding Kym's hand. So she's like, don't be mad, Kym. I'm a cop. I can't tell you. It's to protect you. So yeah, so maybe, that really lends credence to the theory that she knew something.
Yeah, like following what she said, I think maybe she was involved in like the task force that was dealing, because remember that they had gotten the threat that day, but they thought it was going to be at the palace and not at the train station. Maybe she was involved in like trying to do that. Maybe she was like trying to insist that they go in other places or protect the king. Who knows? She seems like an incredibly, like, we don't even know her yet. She seems like she was a very capable, skilled officer and was probably very good at her job. So I don't know, I feel like she could have had some sort of insight that we just don't know about yet that was crucial to the plot in some way that will come up later.
Yeah. She also looks like she really is a good big sister. She is smiling to her. She's holding her hand. She's trying to talk to her and explain to her. It seems like she was a really, really kind and good older sister and close to Kym. Oh, poor Kym. And when she said it's to protect you, it's, you know, we have the light on in the background. So it's like obviously a horrible scream, and the pocket watch clangs and it goes on the floor. And then we have a vision of Daena Liddell on the gravestone. Beloved daughter and sister, X1995, XX17. Rest in peace. The twilight gleam watches over you. Is that from the song? Like the lullaby song?
Yes.
Oh.
Also, I just realized that the thing with her, the screaming and the watch dropping, that was probably the moment that her sister died potentially and came out of shock, drops the watch, and that's when the watch broke, and she just never bothered to fix it as a reminder.
Aww.
And that hurts.
Hey, what's the time on the watch? Because then we get connected to the train station.
People have done that before. I think it's like, I can't remember the exact time on the watch, but it is, I think people have said that it might line up. I forget though.
I'm trying to remember what episode it was in. I feel like it was in the 20s, no?
That's like 12:20, it looks like.
12:20?
Yeah, 12:20, 12:25, somewhere in that range.
Time. Wait, are you looking at the older episode where it shows up?
I'm looking at this one.
Yeah, this episode, it shows that it's at 12:25, but I don't know if that's when it broke. That's just the vibe.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be fun to see if we can connect it. And you see like Kym looking at it looks like Kym, right? Is Kym visiting the grave?
Yeah, little
Okay.
baby Kym with the
Her
little
eye color is not.
She got the
I mean-
beauty mark under her eye.
I just looked for, yeah, I guess I was like, well, silver eyes, looks like the newsboy cap. Maybe that's still it.
She's got them dead eyes that the characters get when they've been going through some stuff.
Yeah. And she is still looking away, and she says, I felt similarly when we discovered Harvey's body in that closet. We were blissfully unaware of anything, and the next moment he was dead. We have that flashback. There was nothing to do. Dead. And Lauren thinks herself, she still doesn't know. Oh, Lauren, hiding stuff. And she continues, then there you were. There was you on the second floor of that factory, running with a bomb in your arms. And 1 second later, dead. I'm sorry, mind you. Thanks for saving us all. I've just been scared for you, and it hasn't stopped ever since you came back. Shakes her head. Lauren says, I'm scared too, and I wish I could have told you that sooner, but it was too dangerous for everyone involved. What we were doing was also illegal after all. Kym says, well, at least you were aware of it. And Lauren continues, when I teamed up with him, when we became Lune, my sole condition was that the people close to me would never be dragged into this. I knew what I was getting into. I knew how crazy and hazardous that alliance and goals were. And I never wanted the risks I was taking to have repercussions on you. She puts her hand on her shoulder. And Kym says, I know, Lauren, but the secret is out now. We know now. Your partner is dead. And that's a lie.
I mean,
haha.
we've been knew that she knew. But I love Kym using that as a way to get Lauren to like be like, what?
Yeah.
I always liked the idea of the people who know her and know her skill kind of using it against her in a more like not harmful way, but kind of like in a playful way. So like, you know, saying things that they'll know will mess her up, or like have her be like, what did you just say? Like I think that feels very in character for her friends to do. So I like that.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's very funny. And Lauren's face first is like, And she continues, but Lune isn't really. You're still spending your nights investigating your leads just like you did for Dylan. But we can help this time. And Lauren finally laughing. She's like, so we both know that was a lie. It's funny. And Kym's like just smirking at her. She's like, you may have your superpower, but mine is that I know you better than anyone else. She gets up and she's like, I know when you are lying. And Lauren smiles, sad smile, and she says, I can't tell you who he is, Kym. So Kym now stretches. She's like, God, I'm getting old. Can't believe my body is feeling stiff just from lying down. Oh, I'm sitting down. No, Kym, that's not why.
When people pointed this out, I wanted to like put down everything, just walk away and stare at the moon because there was no sun, but I would just stare at the moon, just be like,
I remember the first time I read it, which was actually the time that I read it, I was like, wow, like, why is she saying this? This is solely like random and interrupting the conversation.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, when I read that, it's like, I just thought it was like typical Kym just being random because she does say and do a bunch of random stuff, but
that was my thought. I thought that it was just her being like adding little fun character isms to the thing. Flavor. Kym's full of flavor. She adds flavor to the story.
that is really brilliant. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, I just gotta say that's really brilliant foreshadowing right there, that like it really does fly over you in the first read.
You're so invested in the learning of what, like, all the information we're getting, right? So you're just like, okay.
Yep, Kym being funny, okay. Oh. And she is standing up, she's looking down at Lauren, she says, look, I'm not gonna ask you, I get it, you wouldn't lie to me unless it's to protect someone, but I beg you, be careful what you're doing with him. Another really nice panel, sun behind her, and Lauren says, I'm trying as much as possible. And she's like, what are you looking for now? What can I do to help you? So Kym, you're my best friend, and as much as I'm happy not to have to hide from you anymore, there are just things I cannot tell you. Information that would put a death flag on anyone holding it, and I've already endangered you and Will enough. I knew it. I knew she was going to say no. And Kym just shoves her down and puts her hands, her face close to her face. She's like, listen here, pensive eyes, fucker. You still worry about putting my life in danger. Ha 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 ha. I swear to God, I'm going to punch you in the face. Because I already have to watch you die in front of me, and I couldn't do anything. Stop being so afraid of getting us in harm's way. Lauren's like, shocked. And she says, we are already in danger. We are all blind, except for you and your partner, it seems. I feel like that's a significant line.
Yeah, I liked that call back to the prologue, blindest of all and all that.
Yeah, it's not like so relevant to the conversation. Like, I don't know if I feel it's a little bit pigeonholed in, but it's okay. And she says, I don't ever want to feel powerless like that again. Never again. She turns away. And she says, I know you wouldn't either. It would drive you crazy. Which, yes, Kym, we agree. Like, Lauren would hate it if someone did it to her, but she does it to her friends.
Yeah. Also, just her being like, stop trying to protect us. Like, we're all in danger. Like, it's just like, about to prove your point really well, Kym. And she said, just as it does for me right now. Sorry, did you want to say something, Joyce? I really like that she called her pensive eyes fucker.
Yes.
That's funny. I love that. They haven't used the pensive eyes thing in a long time. They did it last week. Glad they did it again. That's all I wanted to say. But yeah, Joy.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I was just vocalizing because I know things.
Yeah, the feelings. Yeah. And now she's gripping her shoulder. She says, I know nothing in the world can make you stop your activities right now. She releases her, and Lauren looks up at her and Kym sighs, and she says, so let me in. Let me help you. That's the least you can do for me. And I'm totally on Kym's side. I would hate to be lied to or denied knowledge. And yes, I'm totally with Kym.
And Kym is an asset. Like, she figured out who Lauren was, like, even before like she was told about it. Like, you know, she's very good at what she does. She's also a really good shot. Like that could come in useful. Like she could help out in so many ways. And I know Lauren's concerned about them, but I feel like she should really understand at this point that, like, because she doesn't really worry about what happens to her personally, right? To her own self. But whenever she is harmed, if she is hurt, that impacts everyone who loves her around her. And I really wish that that would get into her skull that it's no better if she's the one who's the only one getting hurt, you know. At least her friends helping could help, you know, get her out of a situation potentially, because it's not just her and Kieran, it's a unit now. And I really want her to get that through her thick skull, that she can accept help and could be better for it. But I also get where she's coming from. She's lost, so it's like, I get it, but girl, get over it. Like, they're here to help. It's gonna be better if they help. Alas.
Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme in, like, for pretty much all the characters. They seem to really have trouble letting people in, like, for fear of like hurting someone else. So it's like, I don't know, the value of teamwork, or just trusting other people and knowing that that saying, no man is an island. Like, you don't just exist in a vacuum. What you do and what happens to you will affect the people around you.
Sorry, just to build off of that, I realized each one of the characters, everything that they do in a way is a reaction to the loss of someone that they've cared about, or the potential loss of someone. Like, Will losing Raphael has caused him to just follow his father's way and not be his own person, not do what he really wants for the sake of, like, you know, his family, whatever. Kieran had his protectee, they're gone. He's doing all of what he's doing to avenge them. Lauren lost Dylan, her parents, whatever, trying to get justice for them and also for herself and all that. Kym. So Kym had Daena. We don't really have as much information about that, especially in the earlier season. She's still deeply impacted by it. We saw how she reacted to Javi's death, that it was something along those lines of her kind of being struck by mortality, just like in front of her, just complete random loss of people that she knows and loves. And then this happening to Lauren again has kind of like gotten her now, okay, I just want to help you. Like, let me help you. And that's how she's expressing how not wanting to lose Lauren again. Wow. Loss, and yeah, all the characters, what they do stems from loss.
Right. You know, I think like the only, I totally agree. I think like Lauren should let them in terms of, you know, they would be great help for her for analyzing things, and plus, you know, she shouldn't shut them out. The only thing I do think justifies Lauren's decision is Kieran's safety, because I think that the more people know about Kieran's identity, he's like going to be severely compromised, and I think that is really dangerous to expose. So that's
that's why I appreciate that, like, Kym has not been trying to get his identity. She's not implying that she knows his identity, even though it's been hinted that she kind of does before. But she just wants, like, in whatever capacity she can, she just wants to help Lauren. And I think that just kind of shows, like, she understands why Lauren is not telling her this. But for all the other things, she wants to be there.
Yeah, I totally get that. All right, so Lauren is taken aback. She has this little bitter smile on her face. She stands up and she says, puts her hands around her, says, fine, you're right. Still, there are some things that I cannot tell you. And Kym has our reaction. She's like, bro, but I will when the time is right. Okay, fine, whenever that is. Like after everyone's dead, probably, but fine.
I was about to say, like, honey, you can't be saying these things, because then things gonna happen. You're not gonna be able to say anything to anybody.
Right. I promise I'll be careful and try not to get into danger unnecessarily. Kym's like, you better. I'll soak wool socks in your coffee till the day you die. Gross. And she laughs, they're hugging, and she said, don't worry, I know better than to awaken your wrath. And Kym says, but I guess if you're not too careful and die too soon, the punishment wouldn't last very long, so this isn't really working. She smiles, says, I'll find another one. And now she's stroking the clock, and she's looking at it while she's smushed against Lauren's shoulder. And she kind of pauses, she frowns, and she sees that her hand is stiff. And her eyes widen. By the way, the allegory is not lost that, this is like time stopping, right? The end of the time, the end of the life. It's the same thing. She's holding it. And she remembers Darcy picking up Morgan's hand and it was stiff. And Jason picking up Morgan's hand and it was stiff. And she's like, oh, and she's shaking. And Lauren says, Kym. And she drops the watch once again, like her sister, crying on the ground. And then she starts coughing. And Lauren's like, Kym? And she's coughing and coughing and coughing. Hey, Kym. And she's like, God damn it. And she's coughing and coughing. And she coughs blood onto Lauren's face and drops down. And it's a big crash. The end.
Sorry. That was me.
Well, so much for that. That was nice, emotional, calm episode.
Yeah,
Until it
no.
wasn't. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you could go ahead. I need a minute.
Yeah. I know. It's like I was thinking not Kym, and like literally all day when I have a lot of like when I'm doing my work and like kind of going on a day, I'm like, not Kym. Like, there's still a lot of stuff she didn't have scenes out with Will yet. This is gonna happen. Like, how is everything going to go on, and why is she being targeted now? Like, the only reason I can think of is like somehow someone knows she knows Lune's identity, but like that's the biggest thing on her, except that you'd want her alive then, right? So
I don't think she was targeted. I think it's just because she touched Morgan.
Yeah, I wasn't around for last week when that episode came out, so I didn't really go through the Discord or anything, but apparently there was discussions about the fact that Darcy, Kym, and Cooper all touched the body, but Kym was the only one who didn't have gloves. And then I heard that last night as we were talking about this, right? In my mind, I suddenly dust off my bachelor's in biology. I had to take microbiome. I had to take so many things. I was like, do you know how very few diseases are communicated by skin-on-skin touch alone, right? And I was just there like, it is most likely droplets in the air. It's in the air. It's in food. It's in something, body fluids, let's say, blood. So like, she's like talking on stage, has the stuff in her mouth, just getting around. And as I'm doing this, I'm also remembering that this is a world that has different laws, different animals, different biology, because they got a venom that's like acid and like kills you in seconds and like dissolves your body. Like I'm pretty sure we don't have that localized to the spot, maybe, but not that. And I was just there talking about like diseases and all these things. People were like, what if it's a disease? It's the COVID thing of our house. And just like, no, I don't think it is. It's straight up poison. Because remember, why would Seven have Belladonna be there and give her all these schematics of how to get in and around inside of the opera house? She probably rolled up, poisoned some of Morgan's stuff. Because remember, Morgan was not supposed to be on stage. She was brought in because the actress who was it before couldn't do it. She was brought in specifically. I think that was some Phantom Scythe BS. Brought in. Bella did some shit, poisoned her. Dies on stage because it takes some time for it to come into effect. The reason she died was because she got the full dose of it. Kym probably got like a residual dose from like CPR and like touching. Again, how does it spread? I don't know. And then the reason why Nera didn't get it was because Bella rolled up and covered her mouth and probably had something on her hand to like antidote. I don't know, but that is my tinfoil hat theory. Because I don't think it's a disease. I'm pretty sure it's poison. Because I feel like having some sort of epidemic in this would just be like way more stuff to deal with, and we already have an established person who's very knowledgeable about poison, and I feel like that just makes more sense. So yeah, I was just going into that
Huh.
to
I like your-
distract me from the shock.
Yeah. I like your theory, but like, so you're saying it wasn't from the bullet, because like I know a lot of us were thinking that it was from the bullet that grazed her because there was focus on it. But
I feel like if the Phantom Scythe had like special bullets that like just a flesh wound can eventually kill someone, they would have begun using that a lot sooner. It wouldn't just be in like, what was it, a random messenger's gun? Because like, what if they shoot someone that's
Not
a
even the
useful
messenger, like
person
a-
to interrogate? Like, I could see that. It could
Right.
very well be that, because they make a point of showing her leg being cut and whatever. And on the one hand, it's just to show that she was the one who was spying, but on the other hand, it could be multiple things. The onion again, layers. I
like
just-
your theory.
Yeah,
I like it better than the
that's-
bullet theory.
yeah, I that's just the only reason I can justify why they show us beforehand about Bella being there
Mhm.
and Lady dying, and her immediately going up to 𝗫𝗏 in the open, not even like trying to hide anything.
That
Like,
makes sense.
I don't know. That's just it to me. The other thing, just unrelated to it, is just like this episode is just completely chill, good vibes. We've been wanting it. Then this happens, and in a way, I felt when I was reading this episode, which is super nice and stuff, and then we get this thing at the end, it kind of distracted from thinking about the rest of the episode. I've not thought really much about the rest of this episode until now, doing this. I did not read it again. I usually read it at least once before every episode, like the night of, like I'll read it a few hours later or whatever. This one, I was just so like caught up in it, because I'm like, you were shocked about this happening, but I thought that she was realizing something about her sister's death, maybe being connected to the same poison that killed her. That's why she was looking at the watch, and then she just drops it. And it's like, Kym, I thought she was like having a panic attack or something, and then the cuff, and then I see the blood on Lauren's face, and the way I dropped my phone on, I was like lying down in my bed, I dropped my phone, and I was like, I like sat up and immediately pulled my laptop, because I was like, in a way, I feel like it was intentional, because I can understand, like, I've had a day to think about this. I can understand that they wanted, like, people kind of feel like it was a distraction. And, like, I've seen people talking about, like, you know, it was kind of like, what's the point of doing this? Because Kym is plot armored to the teeth. She's not gonna die. And I know that she's not going to die.
I don't know. I think she should die. You can't keep. And I think I didn't read through the whole Discord, but like I know several people have said like you can't keep doing these fake outs. It's bad.
Yeah, no,
You have
like,
to follow through.
Yeah, I just don't see, like, Kym has so much more to offer in the plot, and then like it's just wasted potential, and it would be disappointing for her to die. But then saving her from this anyways would also be disappointing in a way. So it is a bit of a lose-lose situation that they've put themselves in right now, because now they risk, because they're already on thin ice with Lauren, Kieran, and Lucas all surviving after that night, right? So, like, okay, Morgan dropping dead and staying dead, you know, they did that. But I don't know. I thinking about it now, I feel like maybe the distraction was intentional in a way to kind of throw everything. This is clearly meant to be something to start something else that's going to go on in the plot. What that is, I don't know. For me, I'm very much a trust the process type of person. So I can be annoyed about a thing or be not understand it, but also I don't have the end product. So I am very much like, I'm down with anything as long as it makes narrative sense, or like it makes sense in the moment, and then by the end it all comes together. We don't have that yet, so I hesitate to really like say anything further. Other people obviously can be unhappy with kind of this development. I don't blame them, but I don't know. I think I feel like they need to have something be different with this, because if it's just her, because my theory again is that Morgan got the whole dose, and Bella knew that this type of poison spreads to other people potentially who come in close contact. That's why she went up to 𝗫𝗏 and did the thing. Cooper will probably have some issues too, but he was also wearing gloves, people say. But I'm like, I don't think the glove thing, if anything, the glove thing just made it so that Kym got it faster, let's say. So yeah, so I feel like I'm rambling right now. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be something that makes this different from any of the other like fake out death situations, because I don't see Kym dying. If she dies, it feels like wasted potential of a character that had a lot more to give, because we still know nothing about her sister. We don't know anything about a lot of her inner workings. So it would be a great loss if she is dead. But if she's not dead, it kind of feels like you're doing all these things for the sake of the drama in the moment, but not really following through on it having like repercussions that really last throughout the narrative. And I'm very much a trust the process person. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say that this is going to be something, but at the moment, I don't blame people for not being entirely happy with this development. Sorry for my gigantic speech about that. I've been thinking about it for a day now.
Sure, no problem. What do you think, Joyce?
I am very much hoping that Bundin's theory that she isn't actually going to die is right, because there is still a lot of loose stuff going on in the Kiwi section, like, because Kym now knows of this supposed girlfriend of Will's, but she does not yet know that they've already called off the wedding before it even started, and she has some of the bits and pieces, and she does know that Will got tied up with something at the theater, and like everyone has pretty much noticed that Will's been off for quite a few episodes, and so I kind of feel like Will and Kym need some, like they haven't had some sort of conversation, just kind of similar to what her and Lauren were doing right now, but just to kind of get caught up on like Kym finding out about Will's dilemma with his father's expectations, and then he's actually got some information from his long lost brother about, and it's very much potentially tied into the Snapdragon as well. Not to mention, I want Kiwi to set sail.
Don't we all?
Yeah, that can happen if Kym dies.
Well, it could be a motivation for Will to be more active. I forgot someone else said this too in the Discord, but like Will, obviously his main problem is he lets other people, specifically his father, make those decisions for him. So this could be an impetus for him to be like, oh my God, Kym died, and now I'm gonna have to like avenge her and I have to take action, and he'll be like, he'll help Lauren out, and he will be, energized by this. So that's one possible outcome. But I kind of agree with you, Laura. Sorry, Bundin. I agree with you that I could easily delete that. I agree with you that Kym has more to do in the story, and for her to die like this out of nowhere with no buildup, it has like no purpose, and there's no impact. There's no she isn't fulfilling anything with the death. Like I agree, would be out of nowhere. But I'll also be disappointed if it's just like what I suspect they'll probably do is that she'll be sick for a while. She'll like rush her to the hospital or deliver an antidote, or I don't care, will pop up and have an antidote. Who knows? But I feel like she'll probably be sick and then wake up like Lucas, where it's like fake stakes. It's like, oh, he's sick. We don't know if he's gonna wake up, but really he wakes up. So I feel like that might happen, which is not so great either. But no.
It would be great. I would love if they found a way to make this work in a way that is not disappointing because she's alive, but also she's dead. Like, if they can thread that needle, because they have just made a very tiny little needle hole. If they can thread that and make it so that it is narratively satisfying, I would be really impressed, because I feel like right now they have written themselves into a very difficult spot. But we only have so much information, and I'm hopeful that they can get themselves into the, like, they took 6 months to plan this season, right? Like, they took a lot of time to work it out. And I don't know, I've put my faith in them before and I've been impressed, and I'm just hoping that that faith carries through. If it doesn't, like, I can't really say, I'm not gonna be like mad, but it'll just kind of feel like, what was the point of it then? Like,
Right.
why do this? Because they must have known that this sort of thing would happen, where they've already had these people that should have died but didn't. And if they keep doing that, it's going to feel very cheap by the end of it. And I don't know. It's really, I don't know. I'm dying to see what they do with this. Yeah. And also, I just keep thinking about the memes, because there have been some very funny memes. The top comment on this episode is probably my favorite thing. This is the Chrissy, wake up. I don't like this. And I made a TikTok of that and shared it on the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 chat like 2 hours after the episode dropped, because I needed to just be able to laugh about it. And then also, because if I didn't laugh, I'd just keep thinking about the sad stuff, like the fact that Kym's parents are now going to have to deal with the prospect of losing another daughter. I'm not good with that. They seem like good people, and we're probably going to see them mostly for the first time in the next episode.
Right.
And it's because of this, and it sucks, and it's sad, and I don't want them to be sad and have to go through this again. I don't have to Kym be going through this right now, obviously. Also, she just coughed on Lauren's face. What does that mean?
Yes.
Is Lauren gonna...
That's what I was thinking.
Body fluids. Guaranteed way to get someone's infection.
For sure. But I feel like Lauren's also not stupid, and if she knows that, like, okay, something happened to, meaning the second time around, I think, you know, she'll be like, well, whatever is happening to Kym, I have to, like, at the very least wash my face and like go to a doctor.
I just thought of something really dumb and funny. So like, Cooper being a dick might have actually saved Lauren's life, because she would have been around 𝗫𝗏 and the body and the crime scene a lot more if he hadn't kicked her out.
Okay.
I would love if that becomes a plot point. But it's like, if you're like, this is what you get for being a dick. You end up getting sick with the poison or whatever the hell it is. I don't think it's a disease. Not gonna lie, when she coughed and there was blood, I just kept thinking of Moulin Rouge. If you've seen the movie or musical, yeah, the blood and the dying on the stage, and then this happening, just like, we really get it. I can't believe how shocked I was by it.
Yeah, it's a twist. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think the main reason that they put it here is they love cliffhangers. That's just plain and simple.
Yeah, it's a twist. It's a mystery series, right? We're not supposed to have all the answers for everything. Having these twists keeps things, like, you know, fresh. But again, I'm very concerned about what they do going forward from here on out. Still gonna read it, still gonna love it. That's not gonna change, but it will be very much like, that was a choice. Let's see what the choice was for, what it leads to. And I'm hopeful that it leads to something really amazing. But we don't know.
Yes, noodles. So what was your guys' favorite panel from this episode?
Let me see. This whole episode's just so pretty.
Yeah.
I love when she does the overcast, like, lighting sunset. Not even sunset, but like, you know, that white light is just so nice.
Yeah, dusk, I think.
Yeah.
I think for me, it would have to be anytime they show the Willow, like, I think, like, at the very beginning with Kym and Lauren sitting in front of the Willow, that was just so very picturesque and something that is very lock screen wallpaper worthy picture.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are, I mean, Lauren and Kym have a lot of beautiful panels too, but I think the long one, like the horizontal one with the Willow is very, very beautiful.
This one where it's like,
yeah, that's
pretty nice. I really like the one right before that, the one with Lauren sitting down, because you just see that little wisp of her breath going to the side and catching the light. That's the first time I think we see that in this episode, or like the first time we see that, like, she's in the middle, and like the the way that the frame is put together, just it feels really nice and balanced, and I like the little wisp, but also just the ones of Kym with the light behind her and her talking are just really nice.
Yeah.
Just such good atmosphere in this entire scene. Like, you could feel the cold, you could tell that, like, I'm just surprised that they're not wearing gloves, because my hands get freezing in weather like this. Like, they turn red and numb. I have to wear gloves in this weather. I'm not built for the cold. So
Right. I also just realized in the theme of clocks and frozen clocks, the clock appears to be frozen too, because it's 2 o'clock, but we know that this should be evening time because they finished work and they want to visit Lucas. So yeah, all the clocks in Real Hyacinth have like weird times on them.
I'm fine with that. Like, I'd love if they came up with like an in-universe reason for that, but I kind of like it.
2-hour work days. The APD believes in early dismissal.
That too. Never know.
All right. Do we have anything else to say on this episode?
It's very full. I hope Kym makes it.
It is very full. It took me so long to read it. Like, there were several times I had to stop and check the side thing to be like, wow, I've only like I still have a lot of time left. I was impressed by that. I was like, I'm glad I get like such a nice long episode. I don't know. I like it. I understand the concerns. I am concerned, but I am hopeful. Like that willow tree, I will be resilient.
Yes. Maybe that's the message we're supposed to take away from the willow tree.
Hopefully Kym is like a willow tree and she recovers.
Yeah.
Also, did you see what Soph was gonna do that she put in the author's note at the end? Did you read that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
No, I was just vocalizing. Sorry.
Because that's one of my favorite songs from Purple Hyacinth, so I know it really well. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, if they did that, I would have done so much shit. But it's funny. I enjoy the humor in these trying times.
Yeah, she's never written anything serious. It's always funny.
Yeah.
That's their style. All right. Well, this was fun, I guess. Meaningful, impactful, whatever. Dramatic. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. And we'll see. I'm nervous. It better not just subtly twist to like, oh, now we're doing Rosenthal next episode. Or let's see what 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is up to.
That would annoy me so much if they did that, honestly. If it doesn't immediately go to the 𝗣𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yeah.
Like, I would just be very concerned about like the weight that they put on like maintaining certain narrative threads to their natural extent. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see what happens next week.
Thank you for having us again, Mindy.
Pleasure.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you so much to my current patrons: Susie, Lady Libris, Lily, Jenny, Molly, Veronica, Emily, Jo, Rochelle, Sausage Toggles, Anna Rose, Alexa, Misty, Joanne, Emilda, Esther, I'm Watching You People, Emily, Jean, Jen, Erin, Kay, Lily, Beckett, Duranda, Christine, Sadie, Kelly, Teresa, Mrs. Castaldo, Tatiana, Louisa, Rachel, and Stacey Moon. Your support is truly appreciated.